welcome to the Campamento de Oracion, or in other words, Camp of Prayer. Greetings from Sister Vere. Today I want to continue. Before I've touched, I'll do the continuation of the topic I first introduced was the battlefield of the gospel for the new generation. Previously, we talked about feminism, how in today's modern time, in our time, and our future and the future generations, how back then in the Bible it says our battles will be with spiritually, but in today's world we also have our battles legally, constantly in our lives. Today so many topics are talked about, so many like freedoms. That's a good thing, but we have to show restraint. In today's world, it's more about restraint. Be kind to others and keep to yourself, to protect yourself. And before I specifically talked about feminism, how it affected my personal life, even as a Christian girl, how, the small intake of feminism, how it was actually affecting my life, like that small open door, small window that I opened, how it affected my private life, my relationships with my mom's a single mom, how it affected my mom, my interactions with my mom, with my brother, how because of that small window, that small knowledge I took from the world about like feminism, was affecting my home life, how I was constantly fighting with my mom, my brother. As a single mom and older sister, we taught my brother, be respectful, like, to women. Don't be only like, oh, that's girl stuff or that's boy stuff. No, hope when you're as a guest, no matter what home, hope clean. He knows how to cook, he knows how to clean, he knows how to do his laundry, he knows how to iron. But as an older sister, who has, I kept on constant, and my mom gave us like chores, and it was evenly, like he broomed, I mopped, it was even. But even then, when it was an even situation where like I wasn't being treated unfairly, I was constantly fighting with my brother because of that. I'm like, hey, like, do this. I shouldn't be doing this. Like, you're 14. You could cook for yourself. Why should I be doing this for you? Even my mom, I'm like, I was getting annoyed washing dishes. Like I was. That's how. And that fighting spirit with my mom, the resentment of being, hey, why do I have to cook for the four of us when she works a job from 9 to 5, and even the ride to work itself is like half an hour, so like 1 hour of driving in total. So I mean, like, she was constantly tired, and since I'm a student and I take breaks a lot, and it was affecting how, like, I wasn't working. My mom was working for my education so that I didn't have to work. She like, concentrate in your education. Don't worry about economic stuff. Just please, as a favor, could you please help me out in the house? She recognized I'm neglectful in our housework and whatever, but please, with your brother and that, just, you don't have to worry about anything else, just please help me in the house. And that was a constant fight. And when I meditated, I noticed that was hurting my home life. God liberated me. I was like, wow, that small intake of feminism was affecting my life. Each person affects differently, you know, like death and everything. So that small window really affected my life, and so to continue it, how whatever we intake in the world affects our that small window, that small opening, that spirit that comes with it. It it either could be harmful or it could be helpful. Like you might see the positivity of things, like hey, that's the good part, yeah. But sometimes that's why in the Bible says like be careful what you hear, what you say, the influence. As much as we deny, many people deny, like hey, influence doesn't really, friends don't really affect you. They do. Relationships do. They subconsciously affect your life. You subconsciously take that in. The movement of others, the way of talking, um, that affects you. And I want to open with Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11 through verse 12. Like I said previously, in the scripture, it says, Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, verse 11 through 12. 11. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wills of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against the spiritual wickedness in high places. In today's world, so back then it says how I respond to today's time is it's not anymore, because we recognize back then religious was a big influence. It made societies, it made empires, because like yeah sure others, but they were united by religion. Prosecutions, those people were united. They grew, yeah sure, enlightenment like happened and everything, but before then it was family. It was the principles of family, the moralities of like do not kill, do not the foundation. The world was founded by religion. How it established a home life. People came from other religions, you know, but the foundation of the world was religion. And so in that one back then, they're like, so that they didn't really have that much struggle, because people were united because of religion, even if it was separate groups of different types of religion, but it was the religion that united them. But in today's world, there's so much influence, social media, personal experiences, you know, like with churches or religion. They're like, hey, it's not, as a kid they forced me, or this happened and that's why I'm not partaking in religion or anything with God. But that's the thing, because of that, the influence of that small window of it affects you. And as we all know today, technology is what we have. And so because of that, we have different forms of entertainment. And so like, well, I was talking about feminism, but now I'm talking partially more in entertainment. In my personal experience, we have to be cautious what we show our siblings, to others, to friends, what they show us, because that does open our eyes spiritually and mentally. Like, you explore more, opens your mind to new things, and unfortunately, curiosity goes to there. And for me, I was introduced like one form of entertainment, movies, video games, and so I was through anime. As a Christian girl, and like the only outside influence I had was through school, because as my grandparents, they they had they're citizens. They became citizens because no, but they were immigrants. Their foundation, like before they became Christians, they were Catholics. Mexico, like back then it was like Catholic and Christianism, like the stronghold. Even now, that influence in generations. Maybe today they're like easy on us, but back then they're like, oh, before I became Christian, like it was like hardcore Catholics, and so I didn't have that part take. And like, since my grandparents and my mom weren't drinkers, they've been in religion for so long, they didn't partake in that, and so like I was sheltered. So in other words, I was sheltered. And so the only other influence in English was my friends in school. School assemblies. That's where I heard music, English music, non-Christian movies. That's where I that took a hold of me. But then, in middle school, you meet other people at like different periods with different classes, and so in entertainment, what affected me, and it affects today my life still, and still has a hook on me, was anime. So in middle school, in 6th grade specifically, during math class, we were partnered in two. Our tables were in two, and I remember my partner, he was a boy, and he was obsessed with anime. Before then, I didn't know anything. I was like, it's just cartoons. But you know how it's anime specifically, specific region or from it, where it came from, and like their style of art, and that is from Japan. And so he was obsessed with anime, and we're like an innocent transaction in the court. We're like, hey, since you're smart and like, I struggle with math, he's like, you do the math work, and while you do it, I'll talk to you about anime. I was like, okay, like I get something out of it and he gets something out of it. I didn't see it as bad, and he did entertain. He did take me, and he was talking about it, and like sometimes we were caught by the teacher, like, hey, like, dude, like, the boy, hey, do your work. Why is she doing your work? And then we just pretend like, oh yeah, I was just like explaining to him, because I was doing my part and he was doing his part. And so he like described it so good in detail when I'm like, hey, I actually want to see it now, the actual video. He's like, oh, here, he gave me a list, and I was like, oh, thank you. And I did explore it, and that's when I was captivated by anime. And from there, it hooked me into explore, hey, manga. The next one was manga for me. Then from there, I explored Japanese culture. And then from there, I was open to the Asian market. K-dramas, K-pop, from Thailand, the dramas too. And so that was, I'm 21 now. I graduated in 2021, so 12, so let's see, 6, like 2000, 2015. It was in 2015 when that happened, and today I was that door, that door for my little brother to introduce him to anime. I wouldn't think it would. It was innocently. I was like, hey, look, I'm watching this, and as a little brother, he followed me, and I was like, hey, look. And like back then, he got scared of one anime like really bad. He ran out crying, and snitched on me on my grandma. But that he took it, he kept it, and he might have not like done it until he was in middle school. We're 6 years apart in age, and that's when he's like, now he watches it a lot more than I did, and like I stopped around like 10th grade. I stopped watching anime, but like I kept the other stuff. But he still continues, and when I told my brother, I'm like, hey dude, stop watching this. You shouldn't be. He's like, hypocrite, you're the one who introduced me to it. And I'm like, that's true, but that was before, like, back then I wanted to see what others saw. I didn't want to be kept in a box where like, hey, just Christian stuff. But it does really affect, like, people like, hey, it'll affect you in the future and whatever. And like as a kid, like, that's not true, but now it does, and how it affects my brother. And in the Bible we could see that because with Adam and Eve, after we could see it's not just spiritually, well, it's not just like that opens spiritually your eyes, your subconscious to want to do more, to consume more, like a sponge. And that, like Adam and Eve, how they had everything in the Garden of Eden. They had food. They just had to take care of the Garden of Eden as God commanded, and like, hey, don't eat the forbidden fruit, because you would die. And even the serpent who tricked Eve and Adam, hey, like, you won't die, you'll just become like God, like spiritually. You won't physically die. We know they didn't physically die because they continued, but they spiritually died. Because of that, they spiritually died, but they gained knowledge. And that's the problem. Because of that, we will, like the sponge, we want to continue to more. It's good to have knowledge, but we have to know when to stop, how it's gonna affect our spiritual life with God, our relationship with God, because we understand because we have to feed our soul, and that's when it affects you, because it's not bad, but it's just now they had to struggle with that, and they were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, because in Genesis chapter 2 verse 16 through 17, it says, "And the Lord commanded the man, saying, Of every tree of the garden thou mayst free eat, but the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest, therefore thou shalt surely die." And as I mentioned before, we know they didn't die physically. We're like, well, they learned they were naked. So spiritually they died. They had that. They were sheltered. They were protected from that knowledge of, it's not good, but it's not bad, but that kills them in the spiritual way. Like for me, anime didn't, like, I didn't see the good. Like I learned culturally, like, hey, the positivity of that. I was like introduced to the Asian market, you know. Their cultures, their positivity is the culturally, like the beauty of it. But the intake, what I took bad was hey, I was like watching, you know, anime has many genres within it, but like it has like demon stuff, like things like that that don't positively affect my life. Also in Genesis 3, chapter 3, verse 5 through 7, it says, "For God told Noah that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit therefore, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And there we see that the Bible says that they do gain one's knowledge, but the consequence was they died spiritually. That connection we know that they kept that connection with God, but it wasn't as that bond, that sheltered bond that was so strong was ripped, was thinned. And that's what happens to us. Our connection to God or spiritually thins each time we consume something that's not positively. And how it's easy today to get kids and other friends, even if it's like in a nice way, how me and my partner, it was good, but affected my life. Maybe not his, but affected my life. But that would be all for today. Thank you for being here, and God bless you guys. God bless you, brothers and sisters. Bye-bye.